Hello gamers, this is D&H and welcome back to SkyBlock Quickcarpet. So today, I am going to do something that's a little bit different. One of the topic that I wanted to talk about was scouting locations for my zoo/museum build that I'm going to do next, big build that I'm going to do next. The problem is that this is a SkyBlock world, so if I try to go to these locations, everything is just going to look like this, right? I mean, just nothing, just not a thing, just zero, anything out there. Boy, I think I still have the render distance turned way up. In this, I can see the bridge over there. But anyway, yeah, so I mean, there's not, I don't want to just go to a location and look at nothing, right? So I am going to go in, I am going to leave Minecraft. Boom. And I am going to go into a website. I think it's called Chunkbase, but I'll give you the site and actually take a look in there, loading up the seed and looking at the various things in there. So hang on. Okay, we are back. So this is a website called chunkbase.com. And I have loaded the seed of the world into the seed. So you can see it up here at the top or where it says seed. So, you know, a bunch of places. And then I have put basically the dot of, this dot is the spawn location. So this is really what my world looks like. Over here in the swamp is that witch hut. This is, you know, basically where my spawn area is. You build down a pad and down here is that taiga biome. And this is kind of the river area where the farm is for the drowned. Over here is the jungle biome where if you go down and go over to the jungle, there's a spawn pad. I'm going to zoom out a little bit here. If you go north and over here, that's the flower forest where I've built a grass pad. If you go north and this way, this is the river, or this is the ocean where I have the ocean, the beach thing that exists out there. If you keep going this way, the stronghold that has that basically has my silverfish farm is at 1700 and 475. So basically, right about here, right in this area is where the one stronghold is with the silverfish farm. The other stronghold that actually goes to the end with the end portal is negative 1600, 1300. So that's coming way over here. So negative 1600 and then 1300. Basically, right in about this area right here is where the other stronghold is. The ocean monument is at 200, 1800. So it's like if we're zooming out again, okay, so there's the spawn down in here, 1600. So like right in here or so is the one stronghold. Over here is the other stronghold. The ocean monument is basically right in this area right here that I've made the farm. Again, beach. I have a pad over here for the flower forest and whatever. That's predominantly the locations that I've spread out to so far within the thing. Oh, there is the outpost, which is at negative 1400, and then let's see, negative 1400 and 600. So yeah, that's right about like in here. So those are the areas that I've spread out to, although I haven't really even built anything yet at that outpost. So what am I looking for on this map? So this is the most zoomed out it can get. So I'm looking for something that has a lot of area to work with. I mean, basically, this is going to be a very big build. I envision building something that is each of the biomes is probably going to be about as big or as involved as maybe the library or the cathedral. Maybe not quite the size of the beach, although one or two of them might be about that big. But, you know, put together a bunch of different exhibits in that. I mean, exhibits for the various animals, exhibits for the hostile mobs, exhibits for the villagers of various types and the villages. It's going to be pretty extensive. So I want a lot of space to work with. I would like as many types of biomes as possible to be close to where this is. Now, some are more important than others. Jungle produces a lot of things, so having a jungle kind of close, having some kind of winter ice snow biome close to get polar bears and foxes and everything is good. I'd like a mushroom biome to be close, but if I have to move mushrooms, that's not as big a deal. That's really the only thing in the mushroom biome. Um, silverfish, like having a stronghold that's close. Again, silverfish, I think I can silk touch silverfish blocks from my current farm and take them in. So it's probably not that important. Having an outpost kind of close might be helpful. We'll see. But yeah, taiga, that's kind of close, jungle. So a swamp, so because you can get spawns of slimes either way. And having I don't even know, like I was thinking about the end and like the shulkers. I sort of assumed I think you can transport shulkers like in a boat, but if I push them through an end portal, where do they spawn in the overworld? Can you even take a shulker to the overworld? I'm not even sure you can. So I don't know that I'm going to plan around being near a stronghold or anything like that. I mean, if it kind of works out, that's fine. But so this is the area. Now, another consideration is I want plenty of space, so I don't want it to bump right up against stuff I've already built, which would be kind of claustrophobic. But at the same time, do I want to go, to 500,000 on the map? Not really. I mean, I don't want to have it's one world, right? I don't want to have a huge amount of distance between what I'm building and what I've already built, just for the sake of having it. And I mean, I know you can transport somewhat quicker or go somewhat quicker in the Nether, but it's still I don't want to cover massive amounts of ground. Particularly given that I'm not necessarily looking for any interesting formations. I'm looking for a good area to build with accessibility to a number of different biomes. Now, so I'd like it to be relatively close, but not on top of what I want. Another thing that I've kind of talked about, obviously grass is differently colored in like the plains biomes and the jungle biomes versus the swamp biomes or whatever. I'm not that interested in perfecting that. Like, oh, if I build a jungle habitat, it doesn't have to say it's in the jungle biome. Jungle biome just has to be somewhat accessible to me so that I can spawn and bring over those animals, and that's fine. But I also, I want to be careful about. I don't want it to just be constantly snowing in where I am. So I don't necessarily want to build the whole thing in a snowy biome and then just have a bunch of snow on the ground that I can't control. Um, and desert where it doesn't rain at all can kind of be cool. Although then the grass is really kind of weirdly colored in the desert. I don't so much mind that, but I would like some level of variety where I'm actually building. So accessibility to various biomes, some level of variety to put biomes in might be nice, but some large area of just relatively standard biomes, like even ocean biomes, would be fine by me. So building a large portion of it in an ocean, I wouldn't really care about, or that kind of thing. So, in looking at this map, again, this center area is where we've built most of the stuff. The large stuff that we've built is in and around right here. And again, coming over, there is a little bit here. There's a little bit down here, and in these various areas. Um, So hopefully you can see my mouse cursor. I wasn't really thinking about that. Okay, yes, you can see my mouse cursor in the I was pretty sure you could, but I started kind of freaking out there. So that's fine. You can see it, so it should be good. So and I looked around this a little bit before and kind of tried to look at some of the things that I'd already talked about. And so in looking at this, there aren't very many mushroom biomes in and around. This is one right up here, which is at -8,000, -4,000. There was one kind of down here somewhere, -13,000 and 5,000. Um, there's one down here that's a little bit closer, 6,000, 7,000. Um, there's one up here, 3,000, -6,000. That's a little bit closer too. But again, if mushrooms are the only thing that I have to relocate from there, that's not going to be that big a deal. So the other, taigas, there's a lot of taigas, there's a lot of jungles, there's a lot of desert. The other thing that I kind of looked for was a wintry, snowy biome, because there are a number of animals that are going to be produced out of that. And there aren't that many wintry, snowy biomes either. So there's this huge one down here, which doesn't have really access to a mushroom kind of at all, but that's fine. There's another kind of big one down here, and this one down here, which is closer to those. So those aren't too bad. Now, looking around those, there's a little bit of desert, not much in the way of jungle. There is a jungle right here. And kind of a small desert. So I looked in this area. Again, not that much access to a mushroom area, and also not necessarily like I don't want to build mostly in the winter biome. I just want to have access to it. And so there wasn't, there is a pretty big area there, but I don't know. Some amount of access. I vaguely considered this. And it's not too far. I mean, -3,000, 6,000 is pretty close to where I'm at. Um, but I kind of moved on. One of the things that I did early on consider was just this area in general, like right in here. So this is the spawn and just going not even that far out to this direction. Now, it doesn't have access to any wintry biome or any mushroom biome, so I would have to probably relocate animals from a pretty far area, but it would be pretty close to where I'm at right now. It'd be very accessible for moving over building materials. Obviously, a jungle and a desert are very accessible. That is a consideration still, I guess. It's only about 1,000 or so blocks out from where I am currently, and actually, that like my beach area is right in here. So it's not really even that much kind of further out from that. And in fact, I think, like I said, I go all the way to 17,000 for so the right here is where the end portal is that I farm silverfish from. So like right in here and in and around here is, very accessible to a lot of the things that I've done. And actually here's where my beach is. So it would be bumping up against, and partially that's why, I mean, it's still a consideration, but partially that's why I'm not really that into that, is I'm a little worried it might start to bump up against the beach or bump up against my silverfish farm. And I you could say, oh, well, that's nice because then you can access those things from there and whatever. But and it kind of feels like all one big world and this, that, and the other. But I want to make sure that I've spread this out a little bit. So I did consider going all the way over to here. Now this is at -11,000, so this is moving out a little bit further. But there is a mushroom biome that's relatively accessible. There is a jungle, so maybe building in here with the jungle on this side and the snowy over there. Mushrooms a little bit accessible, a little far. There's a desert down here, but I did consider kind of this area as a possible area too. Um, and it would definitely be plenty of space and availability to do things, mostly taiga and plains and some mountain biomes and things like that. So there'd be a lot of space to build things. possibility I considered, maybe. Coming over here this way, I did look at this area over here. And again, this is where my spawn is. So it'd be down here. Again, just looking at wintry biomes, very accessible mushroom biome here. It's 6,000, 6,000. So it's not too far. Maybe building someplace in and around in here. Now, this is cold and frozen ocean, which again would be a cold area. So maybe someplace in here. A jungle would be over here. There's a couple of deserts in various locations. I'd probably be transporting things, 3,000 blocks or so. Although, again, I'd be spreading it out. But I wouldn't want to spread I mean, I might build some stuff in the snowy biome, and that might be cool. I kind of even have a thought for building like a mountain or something like that. But, not necessarily, I'd be transporting stuff a pretty good distance, not too far, but, um, this seemed like a possibility to me, still might be a possibility to me. Um, and again, just focusing on the wintry areas, this looked okay. I didn't really. There is some jungle somewhere around here. I thought, was it up here? No, Taiga Hills. This was maybe the problem with this area was there's a lot of taiga and hills. I didn't see really a very accessible jungle like all the way over there for this thing, so that wasn't the best. Now, probably the most likely candidate I've found so far is right up here. So this area right here, which is about 3,500, negative 5,500. This seems to be a pretty good area. So there's where my spawn is. This is where my beach area is. And then this would be the area for possibly for the zoo. This is probably my best candidate so far. What I like about this is it's not too far away. When I talked about 6,000, 6,000, negative 30 or 3,500 and negative 5,500 is not that far away. And I've already got something that's the beach that's going a little bit in that direction. But so that's good. What I really like about this, though, is there's a lot of different biomes in here. So probably the main area would be in this deep ocean area, kind of as a almost central hub, as it were. And there's a fair amount of space to build here. I mean, when you talk about 2,800 to 38, so it's like 1,000 blocks across and 1,000 blocks up. I mean, there's plenty of space in here to build. There's a desert on the right side of that. That's pretty good size to incorporate that. There is a big snowy biome over here, so I could, and again, I'm thinking maybe even a mountain over here, and I could have access to all the snowy mobs. There is a mushroom island or fields right there, so I could put some mycelium down in there and spawn some mushrooms. There is a jungle right in here, up here. So, I would have access certainly to the jungle-based mobs from there. There's a taiga right here. Right here. And also down here, yeah. So there's a couple, and right here too, actually. So there's a number of taiga areas. So, there's wolves and foxes and things like that that are very accessible. There's also a flower forest biome right in there. So there's just there's forest. There's just a lot of accessibility to the various spawning biomes within this area. So that's pretty good. I did consider, okay, what about moving? So let's say that the center of this is about 3,300, negative 5,400, right? Or 5,500 even. So somewhere in there is about the center. So I did consider looking, okay, yeah, I mean, this is just, a really good area to me. Jungle, forest, taiga, desert, flower, forest, mushroom. Swamp also. Is there anything that I need from the swamp? I mean, because I can get I can get well, witch. Although you can get witches just from normal spawns too. So I don't think there's anything I specifically need from the swamp. Like, do certain types of cats just spawn in the swamp? Because that's another thing with bunnies too. Like there are certain bunnies that I think only spawn in flower forest or in desert. There's a savanna over here also. Um, so within reasonable distances, you have most of the biomes. There's not an ice spiked biome, but I don't think there's anything specific to the ice spiked. Some of the other wintry areas, like this one, has ice spikes, which again, it's not going to have the formations because it's skyblock. So I think really it's just a matter of what does or doesn't spawn, and I think this is probably one of the best areas to look at. Now, the next thing to look for, I guess, is if I go back up to here, um, let's see, if I go to this, if I look for a stronghold, and I'm going to enter my seed again, remembering that so this one was 1,000 and negative 4,000. This one is at 4,000, basically 5,000, negative 7,000. So there is not a stronghold anywhere really near the, let's see, I said like 3,200 and 5,500. So right about in here is where I would be talking about building this thing. So there aren't really accessible strongholds to that. Now, again, I don't think that's a big problem because really I'd be just talking about silverfish. And I think I can get silverfish using Silk Touch on cobblestone or stone at my silverfish farm. And again, bringing stuff from the end like shulkers, I don't know what happens. I might have to try to run some tests or something because I don't know what happens if you push a shulker through an end portal. Because people, when they go through end portals, they spawn it at a bed, right? Or maybe at the world spawn. Would pushing a shulker through send it to the world spawn location? I don't know. So that's a big question that I'm probably going to have to address. But either way, shulkers are going to be very difficult to transport anyway, and I'm probably not going to base my location of this zoo museum on the ability to get shulkers. Okay, so another thing to consider is pillager outposts because that there are illagers and pillagers and things that I might and I don't know what does or doesn't spawn even naturally, but the ability to have some access to those in a certain area might be good. So again, if we're looking at the 30, where are we? Negative, so 3,200 and negative 5,500. So right in here again is where this is going to be. Now this is probably the closest one at 4,000 negative 4,300 negative 6,000 basically. So it's not greatly accessible. Now again, I can go through the nether, possibly. It's not that unaccessible. I don't just have to build a bridge in the overworld. But also, so let's look at 4,300, 6,000, 2,200, 4,500. Okay, so let's go back to this, back to the biome, back to the seeds. Scroll all the way out and back up here. So 4,200, 6,000. So kind of right on top. Honestly, that's right about here. Okay. So that's right in the top of this desert area, not that far from the mushroom fields. This is about where that pillager outpost would be. So realistically, comparison to what I was looking at, that's not really that bad because I'm going to be building some platforms and maybe even some exhibit stuff in here. in the desert area, certainly some platforms to spawn some stuff, and I'm talking about savanna definitely for rabbits and things. So realistically, that's within the realm of existence for me. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I'm happy with the accessibility of that. Obviously, there are rivers all over the place because I'm going to need to get probably drowned or something. Oh, you can get drowned from the ocean too. I've very clearly seen that with my beach area. Um, so yeah, I think that there is some accessibility to an outpost. Was there anything else? Let's see. Jungle temples not going to matter. Obviously, the end. Dungeons don't matter. Igloos don't matter as far as spawning things. A mansion. See, and again, a mansion isn't really going to spawn, or a shipwreck isn't going to spawn. So, there's no change in spawning characteristics for any of that stuff. Now, villagers, that might be a big deal because I want to possibly try to get villagers with all the different outfits and different clothing into that area. So yeah. So having villagers. So what type of villagers exist? So there is savanna and taiga villagers. There is swamp. So swamp is probably going to be the hardest one. There aren't any swamps that are really close to that. I mean they're kind of stretching a little bit out. But again, you can't have perfect things. I might have to transport some swamp villagers across a various area. Let's take a look real quick. Google Minecraft villagers. So there's desert, jungle, plains, savanna, snowy, swamp, and taiga. So desert, jungle, plains, savanna, snow, swamp, and taiga. So we have definitely desert. I'm pretty sure I saw some plains areas, even if they're relatively small. Like right here, there's a plains area. I say relatively small. Um, yeah, is it going to be easy to spawn villagers within that little bitty area? Probably not, but I can do it. Sunflower plains, that's even slightly bigger. Sunflower plains. So I could probably do it and then just, because what I'm probably going to do for most of them is spawn zombies and cure them. Oh, actually, right here. Here's a pretty big plains area right by that savanna. Taiga, what did I say? So desert, jungle are taken care of. Plains is taken care of. Savanna is taken care of. Snow, swamp, and taiga. So, like I said, this is a pretty big taiga area. And then plenty of snowy tundra. I'm guessing that's going to spawn the snow guys. So really, the swamp is probably going to be the biggest hassle. But that's not that bad. And there's mushroom accessible, and even that, I mean, is not. Well, it's a pretty good distance away, but there's nothing that's perfect, and that's kind of maybe the point. If I'm talking about where I talked about before, so this is my spawn point again, just to so 200. Let me just put that back on there for you. 225 basically. So right there is the spawn. Even if I talk about right here where I was talking about. Like obviously the spawn has a swampy area, but I'd be moving it. The jungle, savanna, taiga again. We'd have to go all the way over here for taiga. No mushrooms. Plenty of jungle. There's really just no. Yeah, that'd be pretty good for villagers, but there's nothing snow. Oh, yeah, snow. So there's nothing snow anywhere remotely around this area. So I'd be talking about having to relocate snowy villagers from a really far distance away, and in one of these locations, and not to mention that polar bears, Arctic foxes, all of those things. So, I'd be coming up here probably for all of those things either way, and that's way further than, okay, fine. Maybe I make some snow villagers at spawn and just get a train of them going and transport them over there. Fine, whatever. Um, Honestly, this is to me looking more and more like the area where I'm going to concentrate, with maybe a main area in here and then some kind of snow exhibit in here with mountain. Maybe, maybe like a hub in here, although the hub will include a lot of the exhibits. And some of the exhibits might, eke out into a desert area, might eke out into a jungle area. It kind of depends on how big some of the exhibits start to get. Like I said, I'm not going to freak out about, oh, I have to build a panda preserve in the jungle. But, who knows? I'm going to have to see kind of how big some of this area gets, and really play it by ear as far as what I'm going to do for the zoo. But yeah, so this area on the map is really what I'm considering most likely. Um, like I said, I did look earlier, and like up here, there was some snow and obviously some mushrooms here. You had some jungle. You could look at right here, which obviously tons of snow, mushroom. There's a swamp, there's a jungle, but the desert was getting a little bit further away, and this whole thing, you start to get negative 12,000, negative 10,000. You start to really get kind of far away. Part of the niceness about this version of SkyBlock is I don't butt up against world borders, which the SkyBlock 4 and stuff has. I mean, I could move way far out and and build way far out into an area, right? Oh, hey, negative 40,000 and whatever looks great, or blah blah blah. I'm not saying it does. There is a mushroom thing. Jungle. Yeah, yeah. I mean, see, there's not really accessible jungle. So, but anyway, I mean, I'm not saying I couldn't do that because I can. But at the same time, if I'm every time I want to go to the zoo or work on the zoo or go back to the cathedral or move out, I have to go 40,000 blocks. Or even if I go through the nether, that cuts it to, you should by 8. So you have to go 5,000 blocks even in the nether to move out to that distance. That's a lot of effort. And, yeah, I mean, fine and whatever, but I don't want it, I don't want it to be quite that extensive, right? That's a little, to me, too far away from spawn. Honestly, with this, and looking at this, like both the spawn and this area fit on this one screen. It's not really that far away, but it's still got plenty of room, plenty of space. I mean, I'm not going to build something that's I say I'm not going to build something that's 5 or 6,000 blocks wide necessarily, although ultimately I might. To give you some perspective, my water area, my beach area is, which I consider a pretty big area, is about 500 or so blocks wide. And like I said, I think a couple of these exhibits are going to be at least that size. Most of them are going to be at least the size of like the library or the cathedral, which is, 1 to 200 blocks across. And so you start to put 20, 30, 40 exhibits over time in this thing. And yeah, I mean, there's going to be probably several thousand blocks worth of crossing, not to mention that the exhibits themselves, while I want the zoo to be one cohesive thing, there might be a distance between, a 100 or 200 block walking bridge between two exhibits that is kind of an ornate bridge over the SkyBlock thing or something. I have a lot of thoughts, I have a lot of plans, and honestly, if you look at my stuff, I'm usually better at making kind of bigger builds and not necessarily the most ornate things. But the more I build, the better I get, I think, at doing stuff. And so I'm gonna try some new things for this, and I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, I have a lot of ideas. I don't know how many of them are gonna pan out over time. I might build an exhibit and then rebuild it or add to it. This is a very long-term project for me, and I'm very much considering doing those various things. So, yeah. So that is, I just wanted to take a little bit of time and it's probably been more than a little bit of time, to be honest with you. This has probably been a pretty long episode. But I had a lot of stuff that I wanted to kind of talk about with this, and I wanted to really show you what I was thinking and what I was thinking about. So if you have feedback, let me know, because I would really appreciate that. Because yeah, this is something that I'm probably going to be thinking about for the next week or so before I really commit to, yeah, this is where I'm going to do it. I might even need to run some tests as to how certain creatures spawn in certain areas or whatever. The biggest one is the shulkers, but honestly, I don't know. I might try to run a test on the shulkers, but I don't know that it matters because it's going to be getting shulkers in any level to the overworld is already going to be an incredibly huge hassle and problem and deal. So either way, it is, it's going to be rough. Might even be impossible. I don't know. But either way, I'm excited about this. I'm going to make everything. And I guess what I would say is just to have a shulker exhibit, I would just build shulker boxes and put the shulker boxes out and not have live shulkers in them. I would not build for a shulker exhibit a way to the end. Like when I was talking about the Nether, I might build a portion of the zoo in the Nether where you can go through portals and stuff to do that. I am kind of thinking I will try to build the whole thing in the overworld though and just transport Nether mobs to it. But for a shulker, I would not jump to the end just because there's too much logistics there as far as jumping to the end through a portal and then going to and then going back through a portal. You transport to a bed. It's just something that I wouldn't do just to have a shulker exhibit necessarily, because really that's the only thing in the Nether that we'd be talking about, right? Because the Endermen are plentiful in the overworld. And obviously the Ender Dragon is a non-starter as far as actually having a live Ender Dragon. So one way or another, it wouldn't happen. So yeah, I'm gonna go because I've been rambling on about this, and I just wanted to get some of this down. I wanted to talk to you guys about some of this, and if you have any feedback on it, let me know. But that is really what I'm leaning toward right now. So yeah. Thanks for your time. I'm going to go. As always, gamers, have a good evening, day, and night. Minecraft, time-lapse, mob traps, world maps, cat naps, rap tracks, perhaps. You'll tune in and watch the hijinks, and if you like, click the up and subscribe links.